Hello, everybody. I wanted to talk about something like it's known as the shadow. A lot of spiritualists and even some atheists will say, and people who are just psychologists will call it the shadow. It's the dark part of ourselves that we oftentimes ignore. I don't ignore it because I've been susceptible to it to the point where I'm very in touch with it, but I don't choose to live in the darkness. I choose to ignore living that way, but I don't ignore my own darkness. Like, I'd still work on it, so I am in opposition to it. I'm not ignoring it. I don't cut it off. You understand what I'm saying? There's a difference there. Like, if I want to do something like that, I'll do the opposite of that. So I'm tackling it. I'm not ignoring it. I don't just do nothing when I have those thoughts or whatever. And some people don't even have negative thoughts because they're so separated from their darkness. And I think that that's dangerous. Have you ever met somebody that's just always smiling, always in a good mood? There's no depth to them at all. Have you ever met somebody like that? That means that they are completely separated from the darkness in them. And if you're a Christian like I am, you might be saying, well, isn't that a good thing, Shane? I mean, aren't you supposed to be separated from your darkness? You know, there are certain parts of balance that you need to have. You need to have balance. Like masculinity. What is masculinity for a man? There is some aggression in that. There is some domination in that. There is some, I need to dominate certain situations, I need to take charge of certain situations. There is some darkness in that itself, but it's in nature kind of how you're supposed to feel. So there are dark themes in things that we do by tradition sometimes. But they feel really good because it feels like that's what you're supposed to do and it feels natural. So as a Christian, you still need to have that masculinity. And I've said it before that God uses evil for good. Um, and it's true, he does. But we're not just talking about masculinity. We're talking about a whole blanket of things. And what I learned a long time ago is that if you ignore your darkness, like you ignore your lust, you'll become way more lustful. You ignore your anger, you'll become way more angry. You ignore your sadness, you'll become way more sad. You can become a much worse person deep inside if you ignore the darkness within yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand how extreme God really is. God is an extremist for the truth. He's an ambassador for honesty and exposure. He's not going to let stuff stay hidden. He's not going to let you just lie all the time. There is going to be grand exposures that he puts into place. God cares about these things. So a lot of people say, if God was in charge and if he really chose Trump and he really was working through the country right now, why would there be all these riots? Why would there be all this homophobia and racism? Why would there be all these things? Because God wouldn't just let those things exist and not expose them if he was in charge all of a sudden. We have God in the White House. I really do believe that God chose Trump. So to me, it makes perfect sense that we're seeing all this darkness be exposed. I really think that that's what God wants. So people don't, sorry, something fell. People don't really understand how extreme God really is. That he is an exposer also. That he probably really does want our darkness exposed. And you really cannot ignore the darkness. You have to tackle it and challenge it and fight it. You have to. You have to. Whatever it might be. I've become an expert at it. Okay? That's pretty much the video. There's really not much else to say here, but I just wanted to get that small message out. That we all have darkness, and it all can become really bad if we ignore it, and that we should not ignore it. Because if you look at movies like The Joker, and you look at just any movie like that, or you look at Catcher in the Rye, every single time there is something that comes out into public about the dark side of America, or the dark side of the world. If it's about pedophilia, if it's about suicide, if it's about bullying, whatever it's about, real issues, the public always rejects it. When Joker came out, a lot of people rejected it. When Catcher in the Rye came out, a lot of people rejected it. These two books have something in common. They're about abuse, trauma, what that has an effect on the human psyche, the person. You're looking through that person's perspective. It shows you what is actually happening. And people see that, and they're seeing a reason. They're seeing a reflection of themselves. They're seeing something be, in a very grand way, be exposed. And they cannot handle it. They don't like it. That's why when you try to tell someone something, well, if that was true, it would be on the news. You can't. That's why the term conspiracy theorist exists. People don't want to hear the truth. We are getting to a point where we've ignored the darkness for too long, and here it comes. Here it comes. So, this is what I was talking about with that tipping point. There's still people who don't want to acknowledge the darkness. Now, these people have their own minds, they have their own brains. I'm sure things make sense to them, but every time there is a new issue that arises in the world, whether it's through photography or film or art or just music, or through books, they always reject it. They always ignore it. They always make fun of it. Every single time. And we are getting to a point where you cannot do that anymore. We are getting to a point where you cannot ignore it anymore. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Everybody has a shadow. Some shadows are bigger. Some shadows are smaller. But if you are a human being, you have darkness in you, and you cannot just ignore it. You have to tackle it head on. And that's the video, okay? And I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so hit the bell icon so you don't miss an upload after you subscribe. Share it with all your friends and family. My social media is in the description down below. Give this video a like. It really helps a lot. I appreciate it. And leave a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. I will be back in a flash.